Hello all, Stacy the Black Feather Intuitive. Welcome to another weekly oracle reading for the week of April 6th. Can you believe we are already into spring? And I hope you are all surviving this very unprecedented time where we are quarantined. We are in our own homes, hoping that everyone in your world is safe and happy and healthy and healed and whole. Sending you all love and energy and calmness and peace so that we can get through this time showing the best of humanity and the best version of ourselves. So let's dive on in today. Stay tuned to the end of the video. I've got a couple of specials that I want to throw out to you, some exciting things that are going on and happening in the world of the Black Feather. Today, let's look at Yasmeen, I always forget her last name, I think it's Westwood's Tarot of Enchanted Dreams. I am just absolutely in love with this deck. Really enjoying the imagery. This deck really speaks to me. So let's call in all the archangels, ascended masters, light beings, highest guides, creature teachers, elementals, loved ones in spirit. Come on into the space to give us the clarity and guidance that we need to reach our highest and best this week. And let's just throw out there to thrive in spite of all of the craziness that's going on. Let's thrive through this. All right, I love it. Six of Swords. We've got support and grace. So Six of Swords, anyone who watches this, you know that swords is the realm of the mind, the realm of thoughts. This is our intellect, how we are thinking about things, how we are approaching things. And the Six of Swords really is about support and grace. I want to say to you, it's loving thoughts, it's a change in our perspective, different ways of thinking and different ways of approaching the situation that we are all finding ourselves in today. I'm definitely getting the sense here that it is about bringing ourselves back into balance. Six energy is balance and alignment. It's the energy of harmony. And that's what I believe is happening and going on while we are in the midst of this crisis. And let's hope that it's not going to go on much longer, but if it does continue much longer, it is important that we all stay balanced, doing things this week that are going to help us to keep our eye on the prize, focus on what is really important here in my life, in my family's life, what is important here for all of humanity, and let's make decisions, let's make choices that help us to move in that direction. It changes our thoughts. Fear-based stuff goes on in the mind. And you've probably heard me say this a million times, swords can be tools or weapons. And if you think of your thought as a sword, is that thought helping you or hindering you? Is it hurting you? This is an opportunity for us this week to say, wait a second, let's slow our roll. Let's focus on what is going to be the best for all involved. Yes, you know, I'm all about putting yourself first and self-care and all of those things, and that still applies. But right now we are in a human crisis. It's not a USA problem. It's not a my family problem or my problem. It is humankind is going through a major shift and change. So how can we support one another through this change? How can we get through this change with grace rather than the reactionary fear-based stuff? How can we step inside ourselves, use the light of the full moon to shift our perspective, to give us that new light, shedding new light on the situation so that we can move forward, perhaps without the reaction, perhaps more with an intentional response, an intentional response of calm, an intentional response of grace. Also, I am feeling a lot of energy here with the water, even though this is not a water card, which is typically representative of cups, but I'm seeing a lot of water in this card. And the message that I'm getting around that is people overseas are going to start to hit their, I want to say like their peak, the tipping point. So things are going to start to shift for them. And that's going to give us an indication of how things are going to then shift for us, how we are going to be able to move through this crisis. So I'm feeling like people overseas are also needing our support. How can we support them? We can support them by sending them love, sending them light, sending them healing, sending them positive thoughts, well wishes. I don't know that this is necessarily a time where we need to send money per se, but if that is how you are being called to assist, by all means, see what you can do about sending money or sending supplies to those in need. Definitely feeling like overseas is coming now to that tipping point where they're going to get on the other side of this. And we need to support them in that path, and we also need to observe and watch, gain our perspective from how they are going through the situation and things that we can learn. And maybe we can learn to do things the same. Maybe we can learn to do things differently, but definitely feeling that energy of overwater. Okay, and then for our Oracle deck this week, I was really drawn to the Goddess Power Oracle deck from Colette Baron-Reid. So we need a little goddess energy in here. Let's see what comes through. Okay, I love these cards. Bridget, Creative Spark. So the very first thing I'm getting here is that this really is a time for us to get creative in how we're going to move forward from this experience. What is it that we have all learned through this quieting time, this, I won't call it peaceful time unless you've chosen to step in a place of peace for this. Most people have been very anxious and fearful around it. But if you have been able to step into that place of peace, what creative inspirations have you been doing? I know for me, it has all been about painting, creating painting. I've been doing some sewing that I have not had a chance to do in a long time. This isn't necessarily creative, but I've been reading a little bit more. Typically what happens is I'm so busy giving readings that by the end of the day, I'm like a vegetable, and I, binge watch Netflix. And while I have been doing my fair share of that as well, I have been reading more and stepping more into that creative thought process. So this week, how can you step in and use the creative sparks that are waiting to show themselves to you? And I feel very much like these creative inspirations and sparks can't really come through when you are in a heightened state of fear and anxiety and worrying about everything else around you. The creative sparks come when you are centered, grounded, balanced, focused within. So take 5 to 10 minutes every day to do that and see what interesting creative energy comes your way. I feel very strongly that it's about doing things immediately in a creative way, being in the present moment and deciding to, drop whatever you're doing and do something more fun, maybe more crafty. Maybe it's a creative way to explore a new avenue, a new way of doing your day-to-day work or your to-do list. There's also what I'm feeling strongly on a global level is happening is there's creativity around how can we avoid this in the future? What have we learned from this experience? And the biggest message is that we are all one. This is happening to all of us, and it's happening through all of us, for all of us. So how can we get creative in using this experience to be able to move us forward, maybe into a higher state of thinking, a higher state of perspective, in a graceful way? How can we get creative in honoring and being grateful for the support that we've been given throughout this path? We all always have what we need when we allow Source to speak through us, to come through us, to work through us, to co-create with us. They can provide what we need better than we can. So using that creative spark, how are we going to learn from this period of our history, an unprecedented time in our history? How can we learn from it and move forward and use it to help us into this next chapter? And this is a next chapter. Let's talk really quickly. 9/11, we equate things with before 9/11 and after 9/11, right? Pre and post. This is another one of those incidents. We are going to review this as, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. So how can we be creative in making that work for us? I feel like that's a really strong message this week. All right, let's pull a feather. See what we got going on here. I love it. And this feather is now is all we have. Now is all we have. What a beautiful message. And we do get this message quite often from the feather jar. The feather jar speaks to us about, being present, being in the moment. But it is very important for us to recognize, and I feel like that is what this experience has all been about, is bringing us all back into the present moment, getting real about what our priorities are and what is really important. And right now, in this moment, this is your life. You and I sitting here right now having a conversation. This is all that we have. And when this is done, we are now in the present moment again. And now this is all we have. So recognize that your life is in the present moment. That creative spark that you're receiving, now is the only time you have to enact on it. So step into your now and step into that creative energy. How are you going to use that to benefit your now? Because now is all we have. Really loving this message this week. Sending everyone so much love, so much positive energy. We can get through this. We can do this. We're still in it. We're still moving through it. Stay positive, stay upbeat, and focus on what you have to deal with in each and every moment. It might be family, it might be work-related stuff, it might be just introversion, sitting and going within and doing a review. Whatever it is that you want to do, recognize that now is all you have and make the most of it. Embrace it. All right, so just a couple of quick things. That is our reading for this week. I want to let you all know that in light of the situation, because we are all in this together, when you book a session with me, everything is remote right now, either a 30-minute or a 60-minute session. Use the code REMOTE5. So that's all caps, REMOTE, and the number 5 when you book, and you'll save yourself some money off of a 30 or 60-minute reading. Also, if you are looking for a little bit of guidance, maybe looking for a little bit of perspective on, how this is affecting you moving forward, what is to come after this, I would love to be of service. Please feel free to reach out. You can check out my Facebook page, The Black Feather Intuitive. You can check out my website, theblackfeatherintuitive.com, and also all my YouTube stuff is available. I want to also mention really quickly, I released a brand new show called Wine and Wisdom with the Feather. So while we are all in this sort of quarantined period and bored out of our minds, here's something for you to watch. It's a little waxen poetic, getting to know a little bit of me, the feather, kind of the behind the scenes with me, and hopefully sharing some of my experience with you that can get you maybe to a point where you think about things a little bit differently, or maybe you just don't feel so alone. And maybe there's a little bit of entertainment in there too. So anyway, have the most amazing week, guys, and we will see you next time. Take care.